I come from a tattooed family. So I was brought up with mum and dad and aunts and uncles who love tattoos. And they have to tell a story. They have to mean something. I've picked nerdy tattoos. So I have a Final Fantasy logo on my back. I have Uchiha Sasuke from Naruto on my arm. I have a leg that's covered in Star Wars tattoos, and they all relate to family and friends. I also have my old nickname, QU1K, tattooed on me as well, because video games is who I am. So I love them, and it's expressing stories and memories.
How is Boba Fett related to your family?
My dad introduced me to Star Wars growing up. I was born in the month that it was the 10th anniversary celebration in South Africa. There was heavy embargoes in 1987, and things came quite late and quite delayed. So it was very exciting that eventually this movie, came out in South Africa. And my dad just brought my younger brother and I up playing Star Wars Monopoly, Star Wars card games, Star Wars bedspreads, Star Wars PlayStation games. And every time I think of Star Wars, I just remember playing games with my dad and my brother. And it's my favorite sort of sci-fi franchise universe. So what better way to pay homage by getting dark side characters tattooed? I've also got Captain Rex from the prequel trilogy and the Old Republic, and he's far and away like my favorite stormtrooper. Other than getting into the league, my brother's the reason I am here today. He started a snowball of events that led me to be a full-time professional shoutcaster, and it goes all the way back to my university days. I'm almost 30 this year, and when I was 18 turning 19, which is 13 years ago, I started playing amateur Call of Duty 4. We got pretty good. My team is quite legit, and I wanted to reach out to a local supplier for sponsorship. So I took my brother with me as he was the captain of my second team, and in my head, I'm like, hey, let's see, my brother and my brother's quite stocky, he looks like a Viking, I don't look like your typical sort of basement nerd, so I was like, hey, I'm gonna humanize us. Anyways, in the meeting, this guy was chatting away, and my brother realized that he had no idea about the industry, so my brother's like, dude, you should ask them for a job. I started that, ended up getting hired. That got me work experience, that led to a series of events that got me a job in Berlin. When I was in Berlin, my brother introduced me to League, taught me how to play the game, eventually swore at me and said, just fucking learn on Mobifire. And by me learning on Mobifire, I used to learn all the spell names because I read them all. And that's kind of was one of my first claims to fame, was knowing all the spell names in the game. And same deal, just because my brother pushed me into these different areas, I ended up taking to it like a fish to water. How do I ride the line between polarizing and neutral? I just go polarizing. I made a conscious decision a few years ago that I have broad shoulders and I can take community feedback and I can sift through the vitriolic hate and I can find what is valuable. And with that in mind, I wanted people to talk about me. And I wanted to be a name that I didn't mind being loved and hated. I didn't want to be beige. So when I think about polarizing and neutral, polarizing and fair, I tend to go a slightly more extreme route in the hopes that it elevates me, in the hopes that people are talking about me. Simon Cowell, famous for being an asshole judge on the original Pop Idol. And you either loved that personality or you hated it, but everybody knew it. And that was something that I wanted to try create in the persona and the broadcast personality that is Quickshot. I still want to be happy and celebratory and passionate 80% of the time, but I don't mind for 20% saying things that really incentivize you to say something. And you either agree or you disagree, but just say something. And quote me when you do it. When it comes to consistent enthusiasm, it's actually quite easy for me, without trying to sound too chest thumpy, because I'm a happy guy. I have my dream job. It's a game that I love. I have great peers to work with who lift me up and make everything better. So enthusiasm for the work and the professional side, and it's actually fairly easy. But when you're looking at a game and then you've got a team who is 8-0 up and you know they're going to win, or even worse, a team is down 0-8 and you still know they're going to win, the key is to have content and prep that can help carry you. And if you really listen to what we say, and evaluate and judge each of the bullet points, you'll notice we tend to go away from the game. We tend to start talking about team strategies and team health and impact on standings and macro. And we have all this pre-prepared content and research that we do in the days leading up. So when you have those moments, you don't all of a sudden have to flounder. Yes, we make up a lot of what we do on the fly because it's a live game. You don't know what the expectations are. But we prepare for those moments so that when we see Vitality with 27 control wards, we can go, oh, by the way, did you know they have the most control wards per game by a sizable margin? 53 to 40, that's first to second. And we've got this prep and we've discussed what that means, and then we add implications into the game. I've never actually told anybody why I had that statement. I've never explained it further. And if you go back in time to when I said that, around 2015, the metagame and the context of SKT was significantly different. They were not the superpower in Korea. They were not this undefeatable king. Other Korean teams were beating them regularly. Faker didn't have champions that he had the same level of impact that we'd used to been seeing from him. And in the video series where I said this, in Legends Rising, I had spent 45 minutes talking about Bjergsen. It was a full episode on him, okay? So I spent 45 minutes doing a really deep dive on the rise of Bjergsen, how he grew, where he came from, the impact he's had on originally Copenhagen Wolves, then TSM. And as part of the discussion, I had explained that TSM would not be the #1 team in America without Bjergsen. You remove him from that squad, and again, you've got to think in the time, all of a sudden that becomes a lower tier team. At the time that I made the comment, Faker didn't even win a championship because Easy Hoon helped 3-0. He was a replaceable mid. He had a substitute, right? This was a scenario. Marin was one of the hard carries at the time. And yes, I made a polarizing statement. I consciously did. And I still stand by it to this day. If I compare the guys player for player, of course Faker is going to be a better player. There's no argument there. But if I were to rank Bjergsen and Faker and the value they bring their team, that is where I made the statement from. The Legends Rising crew actually reached out to me and said, listen, we're going to release this thing. Can you watch it? Do you stand by this? Would you be okay with this going public? And I said, of course I am. At the end of the day, I'm in an entertainment industry. It is my job to make people talk, to get people excited. And you know what? If you get excited making fun of me for a line like that, I can live with that. I'm happy with that. I stand by the decision. It is a Quickshot decision as well as a Trevor Henry decision. It is polarizing, and again, full context, it helps explain it. If I went back in time, I'd do the same thing again.